It was a quiet Tuesday afternoon when Mrs. Caldwell knocked on my door, her face pale and drawn. "Olivia, you need to be careful," she whispered, glancing over her shoulder as if someone might be listening. "I've seen strange faces lurking around your apartment every Tuesday. You should keep an eye on things." Her words hung in the air, thick with an unsettling tension. I thanked her politely, but inside, a storm was brewing. What could possibly be happening in my normally peaceful block? The thought of prowlers made my skin crawl. I had always prided myself on being vigilant, but the idea that someone was watching me made me feel vulnerable. As I shut the door, the unease clung to me. The sense of dread was so overwhelming that I knew I had to do something. I needed to take control of my life, especially since the past few months had already felt like a roller coaster ride of emotions. My husband, Mark, had been acting distant lately, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. That night, I mulled over Mrs. Caldwell's warning while scrolling through my phone. An idea sparked. If I was going to feel safe in my own home, I needed to know what was happening behind the scenes. I decided to install a hidden camera in the living room. The thought of spying on my own life twisted my stomach, but I was desperate for answers. The next Tuesday rolled around, and I waited, barely able to breathe with anticipation. The camera flickered to life, and I settled onto the couch, my heart pounding in my chest. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the room, when, at 3:15 p.m., Lauren walked through the door. My stomach dropped. Lauren was my sister-in-law, sweet, charming, and someone I had never doubted. She smiled as she entered, then quickly glanced around as if checking for any unseen eyes. My fingers tensed around my phone as I recorded everything. I could hardly breathe as I watched her move around the room, her usual vibrant elegance replaced by a furtive, almost anxious energy. To my shock, she approached the cabinet near the hallway and pulled an envelope from her bag. My heart raced as she slipped it inside, the piece of paper seemingly innocent, yet loaded with questions. What was in that envelope? Why was she here, when Mark had said he was working late? I was left with a sick feeling of betrayal. My mind reeled as I imagined the implications. Had Mark been cheating on me with Lauren? The very thought felt like a punch to the stomach. I was determined to understand what was going on, to reclaim the sense of safety I had lost when I first noticed Mark's changing behavior. As days passed, I began to observe the two of them more closely. I watched Lauren and Mark interact, noticing the way she leaned into his personal space, laughing at jokes that didn't seem funny. I carefully noted their habits, the small things that hinted at a deeper connection than just family. My insides twisted with every awkward smile and lingering touch. I was gathering evidence, watching their every move, piecing together the puzzle of deceit that appeared to grow larger each day. Then, one afternoon, my phone pinged with an email from Mark. I opened it, trembling, my eyes scanning the screen. Each word felt like a blade cutting deeper, confirming my worst fears. "I can't wait to see you tonight, Lauren. It's been too long, and I can't keep this a secret any longer." The message was clear, a dagger through my heart. I felt my world begin to crumble. I spent the entire day in a haze, fighting back tears as I replayed his words in my mind. The betrayal stung, burning my eyes and squeezing my chest. I had to act. I couldn't allow either of them to dismantle my sense of self any further. That evening, I took a deep breath and drove to the hardware store, each passing moment marked by a mix of rage and determination. I bought new locks for the doors, picturing myself reclaiming my space, my life. Once home, I changed the locks without hesitating, taking comfort in the small act of control it gave me. As I lay in bed that night, I realized I had reached a tipping point. I wouldn't allow Mark and Lauren to dictate my narrative any longer. I would confront them, but I would be the one holding the cards. I would no longer be the victim. I would fight for my truth, come what may. In the days that followed, I prepared for the storm that was about to unfold. I was ready to face the truth, whether I liked it or not. The quiet strength that brewed within me felt like a spark igniting a fire. I was done being silent. It was time to take back my voice. I sat at my kitchen table, the early morning light spilling in through the window, illuminating the mess of papers and scattered notes around me. My heart raced as I replayed the scene from the night before. The email from Mark had been as cold as a winter's morning, filled with promises and intentions that made my stomach churn. I had trusted him, and now that trust lay in shattered fragments, much like the coffee cup I had broken in my anger. With a sigh, I picked up my phone and texted Emily, my best friend. She too had been a voice of reason throughout my marriage. I needed her now more than ever. "Can we meet? Need to talk." A few minutes later, my phone buzzed. "Of course. Coffee shop at noon?" The time passed slowly as I tried to gather my thoughts. I knew I couldn't let this go. The sight of Lauren creeping into my home as if she belonged there played on loop in my mind. I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal that clung to me like a shadow. By the time I arrived at the coffee shop, I was a bundle of nerves. Emily was already seated at our favorite corner table, her expression shifting from curiosity to concern the moment she saw me. "What's going on, Olivia?" she asked, sliding a comforting cup of chamomile tea toward me. "I found something. An email from Mark." My voice trembled as I spoke. "It's about Lauren." Emily's eyes widened. What did it say? I hesitated, the words feeling like stones lodged in my throat. He wants to be with her." "Oh, Olivia, I'm so sorry." Her voice softened, filled with sympathy. "Have you confronted him?" "I haven't yet," I admitted. "I'm taking my time. I need to think and plan first." Emily nodded, understanding my need for control. "You deserve to know the truth. If he thinks he can just waltz back into your life after this, well, he's got another thing coming." I looked out the window, my mind swirling with thoughts. And Lauren, she acted like everything was fine when she was here. I can't believe she would do this to me, to us. "People can be so selfish, you know that," Emily replied, her voice steady. "But you shouldn't let this define you. You're stronger than you think." I wanted to believe her. I wanted to feel strong, but the weight of betrayal made me feel small. "I didn't ask for this. I just want my life back," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Then a thought struck me. What if I changed the locks? What if I took control of my own space? Emily leaned in, a spark of excitement in her eyes. "That's a brilliant idea. You need to feel safe in your own home, and you should definitely confront them both. They need to know you're not just going to sit back and let this happen." My heart raced at the prospect. "You're right. After this, I'll change the locks. I can't stand the idea of either of them having access to my home, my life." As we spoke, a plan began to form in my mind. I would confront Mark first, catch him completely off guard. I wanted his reaction to be genuine, unfiltered. And after, I'd face Lauren. I felt a flicker of determination rising within me. "I'll do it tonight. I'll confront him after work." "Are you sure?" Emily asked, concern etched on her face. "Yes, I have to. I need to hear him say it, to face the truth head on. I've been living in this fog long enough." Emily reached across the table, squeezing my hand. "I'm proud of you, Olivia. You're not just a victim. You're a warrior. You'll come out stronger, I promise." As we finished our coffee, I felt a surge of energy. The idea of reclaiming my space, my life, began. For the first time in a while, I was looking ahead instead of drowning in despair. That evening, I stood outside my apartment door, heart pounding in my chest. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what lay ahead. I turned the key in the lock, feeling the cold metal against my skin as I stepped inside, ready to face my world and take back my narrative. Mark was there, sitting on the couch, his face filled with confusion. When he saw me, the look in his eyes shifted to one of guilt. "Olivia, I didn't expect you back so soon," he stammered, but I cut him off before he could say another word. "Save it, Mark. We need to talk." His posture straightened, and I could feel the tension between us crackle like electricity in the air. This was my moment. I was ready to confront the lies and reclaim my truth. As I sat on the edge of my bed, I could feel the weight of dread in the pit of my stomach. Emily was pacing across my small living room, her brow furrowed in concentration. "Are you sure about this, Olivia?" she finally asked, her voice a mix of concern and determination. "I have to be," I replied, my hands gripping the fabric of my jeans. "I can't let them continue this charade, not anymore." The hidden camera had revealed the truth I had long feared. Watching Lauren, my sister-in-law, slipping into my house and placing that envelope in the cabinet felt like a stab to the heart. It was as if she was mocking me, feigning innocence while betraying everything I held dear. I had always been close to Lauren, family gatherings, late-night talks over wine, yet now she was just another face in the long list of people who had deceived me. "Okay, let's take a deep breath," Emily said, stopping her pacing to kneel in front of me. "You're going to confront them tonight, and it's going to be intense. Just remember, you're not alone." "I know," I said, forcing a smile to reassure her, "but I can't pretend that I'm not scared. The thought of facing Mark, I don't know if I can do it." "You can, Olivia. You're strong. You've got this." I nodded, but the doubt still lingered. Earlier that day, a message had appeared in my inbox, a simple email from Mark that shattered any remnants of trust. "I can't keep doing this," he had written. "I want to be with Lauren. I'm so sorry." The words echoed in my mind like a haunting melody I couldn't shake off. As the evening came, I prepared for the confrontation. I wore my favorite blue dress, the one I always thought made me look confident. The fabric hugged me in all the right places, but that evening felt different. I wasn't dressing up for a night out. I was gearing up for battle. "Just remember, Olivia," Emily said, catching my eye as we stood near the door. "This is your home, you deserve respect, and you're claiming your space back." I appreciated her support, but inside, I still felt like a storm was brewing. When the doorbell rang, my heart raced. There he was, Mark, looking just as I remembered him, handsome, yet somehow foreign. I opened the door, trying to hold on to the anger bubbling beneath the surface. "Can we talk?" he asked, his voice calm. I could see a hint of uncertainty in his eyes. "Talk? You think we can just talk after what you've done?" I cut in, stepping aside to let him in. "You need to hear me." He hesitated, glancing over my shoulder at Emily, who stood protectively behind me. "I didn't come here to fight, Olivia. I just want to explain." "Explain?" I echoed incredulously. "Explain that you've been lying to me and sneaking around with my sister-in-law? What is there to explain?" I could feel the tension in the room rising, a palpable energy that crackled like electricity. Emily took a step closer, her presence a reassuring anchor. "You owe her the truth, Mark," she said firmly. He ran a hand through his hair, clearly struggling for words. "Look, this isn't what I wanted." "Then why did you do it?" I interrupted, my voice rising. "You think I deserve to play the fool, to live in a lie?" He opened his mouth to respond, but was cut off as Lauren appeared at the door, her expression a mix of feigned innocence and defiance. "What's going on?" she asked, glancing between us. I felt a surge of anger. "Why don't you tell me, Lauren? Or do you want to keep pretending this is all a misunderstanding?" Her eyes flashed with something dark, and I could almost see the gears turning in her head. "I didn't mean for it to happen like this," she said, her voice deceptively soft. "You know how things can get complicated." "Complicated?" I spat back. "You're not the victim here. You made your choice." Mark shifted uncomfortably, clearly caught between us. "Can we just calm down? This isn't productive," he interjected. "Productive? You think this is about productivity? This is about trust," I retorted. "Maybe if you hadn't been so busy with work, you wouldn't have noticed." Lauren shot back, her voice rising. The accusation hit me like a punch, but I refused to back down. "You think I was neglecting anything? I fought for this family while you were busy sneaking around." The confrontation escalated, emotions swirling like a tempest. I could see the truth in their eyes, the tangled web of lies unraveling before us. The tension laid bare the manipulations we had been playing, his words, her deceit. As the shouting subsided, a silence hung in the air, heavy with realization. I could only stare at them, feeling lost, yet somehow empowered. It was time to reclaim my voice. "Enough," I said, my voice steady. "I will not let this continue. I'm changing the locks. I'm taking control of my life back." Their shocked expressions told me everything I needed to know. I wasn't just a victim anymore. I was ready to stand firm. As I looked into Emily's supportive gaze, I felt a small flicker of hope ignite within me. This was just the beginning. Block 4. The air in my house felt thick with tension after the confrontation with Mark and Lauren. I had laid everything bare, my heart pounding as I spoke the words that needed to be said. Now, the silence echoed louder than any argument we had ever had. I started to gather my thoughts, trying to piece together the chaos of my life. The first thing on my mind was to ensure my safety. I couldn't trust Mark any longer. As night fell, I took a deep breath and made my way to the front door. It felt symbolic, this act of locking him out of my life. I spent the next hour at the hardware store, my hands trembling as I selected new locks. The elderly clerk raised an eyebrow at me, likely sensing my distress, but I didn't care. I was reclaiming my space. When I returned home, I fumbled with the tools, my hands shaking. I forced myself to focus, tightening screws and adjusting plates. It was empowering in its own right. Each click of the lock a reminder that I wasn't helpless. I was taking back control bit by bit. As I worked, I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal gnawing at my insides. I thought of Mark's laughter, the way he used to pull me close, and how that had all shifted. I was in a storm of emotions, anger, sadness, but also a strange sense of clarity. I realized that I would never go back to the woman I was before, the woman who accepted lies. Just as I finished changing the last lock, my phone buzzed. It was Emily checking in. "Hey, how are you holding up?" she texted. I hesitated for a moment before typing back. I changed the locks. Her response came almost immediately. "Yes, that's what I'm talking about. What's next?" I smiled for the first time that day. "Next, I'm going to show Mark that he can't walk all over me." "Good. Let's meet tomorrow to plan your next move." "Okay," I replied, my heart racing at the thought of standing my ground. The following morning, with the sun shining in through my newly locked door, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. I met Emily at our usual cafe, its familiar warmth wrapping around me like a hug. "You look different," she said as I sat down. "There's something in your eyes." "It's a mix of anger and determination," I admitted, stirring my coffee. "I want to make sure he knows I'm not just going to sit back and accept this." Emily leaned in closer. "What do you plan to do?" "I need to gather evidence. I want to confront him again, but this time I want to be prepared." "Great idea. We'll dig deeper. You've already caught a glimpse of his lies. Now it's time to expose them." Over the next few days, I turned into a private investigator in my own life. I paid closer attention to Mark's habits, watching him when he thought I wasn't noticing. I observed the way he and Lauren exchanged glances, their smiles too intimate, too conspiratorial. It left me feeling sick. One evening, while I was waiting for Mark to come home, I heard footsteps outside. I peeked through the window and saw Lauren approaching our house. My heart raced. Did she dare to show her face here? I quickly texted Emily. "Lauren is here. What should I do?" "Stay calm. Just observe. Don't confront her yet." I nodded to myself, knowing that resisting the urge to confront her was going to be the hardest part. Watching her walk up our pathway, I felt a mix of rage and sadness wash over me simultaneously. As I stood in the shadows of the living room, I felt like an intruder in my own life. I watched Lauren knock on the door, and I held my breath when Mark opened it. Their exchange was filled with laughter, with that horrible chemistry I had once felt toward him, now directed at her. I scribbled down every detail, every laugh, every word that passed between them. But then, as if the universe wanted to pile on, an email dinged in my inbox from Mark. I froze, my heart pounding as I opened it. The subject line read, "I can't wait to see you." My hands shook as I clicked on the message. Inside, my worst fears were confirmed. He had made plans with Lauren, talking about how they were meant to be together and how he felt trapped in our marriage. It was a gut punch, but amidst the heartbreak, I felt a surge of adrenaline. Enough is enough, I whispered to myself. I had the evidence now. I was ready. I would confront him yet again, but this time, I would have the upper hand. I would not be the victim anymore. I would stand tall, armed with truth. When Mark came home that night, the tension was palpable. I waited until he settled on the couch, the television flickering in the background. "Mark, we need to talk," I said. "What about?" He looked up, feigning ignorance. "About you and Lauren. I have proof." I threw the email onto the coffee table between us, watching as he read it, his face paling. This time, I wouldn't let his manipulations take hold. I was ready to expose the truth, ready to reclaim my power. The air was thick with tension as I stood in the living room, heart racing, waiting for Mark to come home. I could still hear the echoes of his laughter from earlier, the sound that had once brought warmth to my heart, but now twisted my stomach in knots. The hidden camera had revealed everything, and I was done pretending that nothing was wrong. I felt ready, powerful even, as if my emotions had solidified into armor. The door swung open, and Mark stepped inside, casual and unsuspecting. He dropped his keys on the kitchen counter and turned towards me with a friendly smile. "Hey, babe, how was your day?" I took a deep breath, forcing myself to remain calm. "Mark, we need to talk." His smile faltered slightly. "Sure, what's up?" I stepped closer, holding my phone tightly, my heart pounding in my ears. "I saw the footage, Mark. I know about you and Lauren." His face changed in an instant, the confidence draining from his expression. "What are you talking about?" "Don't play dumb with me. I've got proof." I pulled up the video, the damning evidence of their betrayal flashing on the screen before I even hit play. "Olivia, please," he said. His tone shifted from confusion to desperation. "It's not what you think." I pressed play. The sound of their voices filled the room. I watched his face as Lauren giggled, her flirtations evident, the intimacy of their connection undeniable. I could see the moment where he leaned in closer, whispering things I didn't want to hear. I felt enough, I shouted, stopping the video. "You think I would just let this go?" He shook his head, trying to regain control. "Olivia, listen. It was a mistake. I love you. We can work through this." "Work through this?" I echoed, incredulous. "You've been sneaking around, lying to me, and you expect me to just forgive you?" "Please." He reached for my arm, but I pulled away. "It was a moment of weakness. You know how stressful things have been. I need you to understand." "No, Mark, you don't get to twist this. You chose to betray me. You and Lauren both have treated me like a fool." My voice quivered, but I fought to hold my ground. "This is about trust, and you've shattered it." He was silent for a moment, eyes darting around as if searching for a way out. "What do you want me to say? I'm sorry?" "Sorry isn't enough," I replied, my voice firmer now. "I want you to leave." His eyebrows shot up, disbelief evident on his face. "You can't be serious." "I am serious. I've already changed the locks. I'm done letting you manipulate me. I deserve better than to be treated this way." With that, I turned away from him, walking towards the door. "I'm calling a lawyer. We'll sort through this properly." "Olivia, wait," he yelled, but I stepped outside, closing the door behind me. I felt the weight of my decisions settle on my shoulders like a mantle. I was choosing my worth over his lies. As I stood on the porch, I took a moment to breathe, feeling the anger dissipate slowly. I had fought hard to reclaim my power, and I wasn't going to let anyone take it from me again. Emily was right. I had the strength to rise above this. Suddenly, I heard footsteps approaching. I turned to see Emily, her expression a mix of concern and understanding. "How did it go?" Better than I expected, I confessed, letting out a shaky breath. I finally confronted him. He didn't see it coming. Emily reached out, pulling me into a hug. I'm proud of you. You deserve so much more than what he gave you. This is just the beginning, Olivia. I nodded, grateful for her support. I feel different, stronger, like I finally have control over my own life. Let's take it one step at a time, she said, pulling back to look me in the eyes. We'll get through the legal stuff together. I'm ready, I said, with newfound determination, and I want to help other women too. If I can get through this, maybe I can help someone else find their voice. As the sun started to set, bathing the porch in golden light, I realized that the betrayal had opened the door to my own freedom. The journey ahead would be difficult, but I was prepared to fight, not just for myself, but for others who needed the courage to stand up and reclaim their lives. I stood in front of my new front door, heart racing as I took a deep breath. The locks had been changed earlier that day, a small but significant step toward reclaiming my life. With each twist of the new key, I felt a layer of weight lift from my shoulders. It wasn't just about changing the locks, it was about changing my narrative. I paced the living room, the stillness, a stark reminder of the chaos that had taken over my life. My phone buzzed, and I glanced down to see a message from my friend Emily. Getting ready for the court hearing tomorrow? You've got this. Her words filled me with a bittersweet warmth. I had never imagined that I would need to take legal action against Mark, but here I was, preparing to confront the man who had shattered the trust we once shared. With a firm resolve, I fortified my mind. I had the evidence, the video, the emails, everything that corroborated the betrayal. I couldn't let my anger consume me, but I knew this confrontation would be emotional. I wanted to be clear-headed when I faced him, to express how deeply he had hurt me without losing my composure. The next morning arrived too quickly, and I found myself at the courthouse, the air thick with nervous energy. Emily was already waiting for me outside, her presence a balm against my apprehensions. You're going to be great, Olivia. Just remember, you're not alone, she encouraged, wrapping her arms around. The warmth of her embrace steadied me. Inside the courtroom, the atmosphere felt oppressive. Mark sat across from me, an air of nonchalance cloaked in arrogance. Lauren was nowhere to be seen, likely hiding behind the shadows she preferred. I couldn't help but wonder if she had been in on his manipulations all along. The thought made my stomach churn. As my attorney stood to present our case, I didn't take my eyes off Mark. He shifted uncomfortably, glancing down at his hands as our attorney detailed the betrayal I had endured. This isn't just about an affair, he said, emphasizing the emotional toll it had taken on me. This is about trust, respect, and the violation of a relationship that was built on love. I watched Mark squirm, his face shifting from faux bravado to a hint of panic. I relished the moment, feeling empowered as I recounted how his lies had unraveled my world. You made me doubt everything I believed about us, I said, my voice steady. You took away my peace of mind. His response was a sharp intake of breath, a fleeting moment of vulnerability that I almost missed. Olivia, he started, but I cut him off. I had heard enough excuses over the years. Save it, Mark. You think you can manipulate me with guilt? You're mistaken. My voice echoed in the room, a declaration that felt powerful. I looked at the judge, a woman whose eyes were sharp and understanding. I felt her support as I continued to speak, touching on the impact his actions had on my self-worth, my mental health, and my future. The heat of the moment ignited something within me. I glanced back at Emily, who nodded encouragingly. I had to do this, for myself, for every woman who had ever felt belittled or betrayed. As the hearing concluded, I felt a mixture of relief and exhilaration. The judge's verdict was a confirmation of what I had hoped for. Given the evidence provided, I rule in favor of Miss Olivia. The court acknowledges the emotional damages incurred from Mr. Turner's actions. Tears of relief welled in my eyes as I absorbed the words. It was over. I had won. The burden of his deceit began to lift, and I could finally see the horizon of new beginnings. Outside the courthouse, Emily was waiting. I rushed into her embrace, the weight of the past finally feeling lighter. "We did it!" I exclaimed, laughter bubbling from my chest. "You did it, Olivia. You faced your fears head on," she replied, her eyes shining with pride. "Now I want to help others. I want to share my story, to let women know they're not alone," I said, a fire igniting within me. As we walked away from the courthouse, I felt a sense of purpose. I would become a voice for those too afraid to stand up for themselves. I would share not only my story, but also the stories of other women who had experienced the pain of betrayal. This was not just the end of one chapter, but the beginning of a new journey, one where I would reclaim my life and help others rise from the ashes of their struggles. I could feel it in my bones. This was the start of something powerful. As I stood outside the courthouse, the sunlight felt different on my skin. It was warm, almost as if it was celebrating my victory, but I knew it would take time to feel that same warmth within me. Emily walked beside me, her presence a comforting shield against the world. My heart was still racing from the adrenaline of the hearing, a mix of relief and disbelief. I had done it. I had stood up, spoken my truth, and won. "Are you okay, Olivia?" she asked, her brow furrowing with concern. "Yeah," I replied, forcing a smile. I didn't expect it to feel this surreal. I thought I'd walk out of there and collapse, but instead, I feel freer." "That's because you took your power back," she said, squeezing my arm. "Mark underestimated you." I nodded, reflecting on the echoes of the courtroom, the way my voice had strengthened as I recounted the pain he caused. The judge's expression had shifted as I spoke, and I could see the realization dawning on the faces of everyone in the room. For months, I had been living in a fog of betrayal. And now I was finally stepping into my own light. As we reached my car, Emily turned to me, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "So, what's next for you? Now that you're free, what are you going to do?" I opened the car door and sat down, the soft leather a welcome contrast to the tension that had gripped me for so long. "I've been thinking about that. I want to help other women. Women who feel lost after betrayal or any kind of emotional abuse." Emily's smile widened. "That's wonderful. You have so much strength, Olivia. You can inspire them." I took a deep breath, letting the possibility of a new path wash over me. I want to create a support group, somewhere women can share their stories and feel heard, maybe even workshops to help them rebuild their confidence. "Sounds like a plan," Emily encouraged. "You could also start a blog or something, share your journey." I chuckled, the idea sparking a flicker of excitement in my chest. A blog? I don't know about that. But maybe speaking events, sharing my story live, that would be powerful. Definitely. Just remember, it's okay to take your time. You don't have to do everything at once. I nodded, appreciating her wisdom. She had always been my anchor, and I was grateful for her unwavering support. "You're right, one step at a time." As I drove home, the city passed by in a blur, but my heart was clear. I could feel the weight of my past lifting, and in its place, a budding hope. I thought about the women who needed to know they weren't alone, that they could rise from the ashes of their own heartbreak. I wanted to be their guiding light, just as Emily had been for me. Arriving home, I paused at the door, my fingers hovering over the new locks, a symbol of my newfound security. Each click echoed with a promise to myself that I would never allow anyone to undermine my worth again. I stepped inside, the familiar scent of my home wrapping around me like a protective blanket. I took a moment to breathe deeply, feeling the presence of the space I had fought to reclaim. No more shadows of betrayal, no more reminders of Mark. It was just me now. I decided to start that evening. I opened my laptop and began typing, the words flowing effortlessly. I poured my heart onto the page, detailing my journey, my struggles, and my revelations. I wrote about the importance of finding one's voice and standing firm in the face of adversity. Hours slipped away as I lost myself in the process. When I finally closed my laptop, it was well past midnight. My fingers were tired, but my spirit was alive. Suddenly, my phone chimed with a message. It was a text from Emily. Just wanted to say how proud I am of you. You're going to change lives, Olivia. Don't forget that. Tears pricked at the corners of my eyes as I read her message. I responded quickly, "Thank you. I couldn't have done it without you." As I set my phone down, I realized this was only the beginning. I had faced the storm, I had emerged alive, and now it was time to help others weather their own. I was no longer a victim. I was a survivor, ready to forge a new path. With determination coursing through my veins, I whispered into the quiet of my home, "This is my time. I won't just survive. I will thrive."